Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your zen of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
Hi everyone, Jason Hunt here, inviting you to join us every Saturday morning for news. The week's headlines in science fiction, fantasy, horror, comic books, video games, plus Comic-Con updates and the weather, and the occasional interview along the way. We call it Good Morning Multiverse. We hope you join us every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 Central, right here on Sci-Fi for Me TV.
America's southern border has become a war zone. Human traffickers, drug smugglers, and terrorists flow across the Rio Grande with impunity, secure in the knowledge that no one will stop them. A distant federal government lectures Americans on their privilege while punishing overworked Border Patrol agents who were helpless to stem the tidal wave of invaders and determined migrants. Second-generation Cuban-American Marcos Zamora is a military vet, more patriotic than most Americans. No longer able to ignore the chaos at his doorstep, he acts. Joined by his best friend Gus, they hit the border every night, saving lives while stopping violent drug cartels and other opportunists. The government reacts with fury at Marcos' attempts to preserve American sovereignty, deploying the full might of their enforcement agencies. But Marcos understands that the only thing the rich and powerful fear is bad publicity, and he records every encounter. Whoever he is, this private American must be stopped. Illustrated by Richard Bonk and written by Eisner winner Mike Barron, Private American is his version of Captain America, and maybe a little Punisher, taking part in this ongoing, violent, and very real battle of good versus evil in the war for American sovereignty. Grab your copy at theprivateamerican.com.
We have a secure border, and that is a priority for our administration.
Ladies and gentlemen, comic book legend Mr. Mike Barron.
Hey, folks.
Mike, you are busier than the proverbial one-legged man in a butt-kicking contest these past few days. How you holding up?
I'm holding up well. You know, the more work, the better. It's a funny thing because for years here, I couldn't get arrested. And all of a sudden, I'm busy.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's you had a barrier between you and the readers and the big publishers, and they were the ones who apparently had no use for you. The readers out here, still wanted more Mike Barron goodness.
Well, I know, and that's true for a great number of us who've been blacklisted by the industry. I was just on a live stream with Chuck Dixon, for example, and Mike Miller.
Yeah.
Both of whom are unwelcome, despite the fact that Chuck's one of the best Batman writers ever and created Bane, because he's a conservative, and we can't have that kind of person working here.
How many do you think they do have working there that just keep their mouth shut?
Oh, only a handful, I'm sure. I hear from them, but when we look at the new product from Marvel and DC, we're just baffled because we don't understand who's it for. The purpose of the comic is to entertain, and these books fail at the most fundamental level. It's like the purpose of food is nourishment. The purpose of comics is to entertain. It shouldn't be that hard to understand.
Yeah. I mean, if they were McDonald's, you'd be going there and ordering a hamburger and getting the styrofoam package. You can't eat that. But
Matt,
it's all.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's the number one backer. Showed up. Matt, thank you for being backer number one and for popping over here to, listen to Mike and I talk for a little bit here. Robert Roberts is also out here in the chat. Tree Goblin says, send JDA the link. JDA's got his own stream going on right now, so he's already going.
I sent him the link.
All right. And Mike Walters popped in to like and share. Always appreciate that. More shares, the better, so that more people can see. Not for me, guys. It's so that more people can see Mike's link and get out there and back Private American. That would be great. I knew this was coming for a while, Mike, because I'd worked with Chris Brawley on doing the data work on Thin Blue Line. I did not know that this was a launch point or a spinoff of Thin Blue Line, that it's in the same universe.
There's a connection, but it's not immediately apparent. It will be when you read the book, but they're two completely separate stories. And it's possible the characters will all meet up in the future. But Private American is more superheroic. It's more comic booky than Thin Blue Line. Thin Blue Line was as realistic as I could make it. And the response from police officers has been overwhelmingly positive, and they say I nailed it. Not just the procedures and the techniques, but the state of mind. Private America is my attempt to do Captain America and Punisher rolled into one. If Captain America, if I were writing Captain America, he'd be down on the southern border now. That's where the action is. However, I've read a couple of issues of Captain America recently, and they just seem meandering and clueless, like he has no purpose.
He has no idea what America means anymore. At least the Steve. Well, I'll take it. The Steve Rogers character doesn't know what America means anymore, and the Sam Wilson character is tired of being Falcon, a great character, but didn't have quite the gravitas that the name Captain America had. So.
Yeah, and I also get the impression that Marvel is embarrassed by Punisher and would just as soon put him quietly to sleep.
Robert, you're a little over the top there. It says big vagina, like Big Pharma, dominates one of the only sources of reading that appeals to boys and men. 90% of literature, we need more books for boys, not girls. Yeah. Where are the boys' adventures? Because
I do have to point out that I write novels for Wolfpack, which specializes in men's adventure novels. And there are now 9 novels in the Biker series. It's a hard-boiled crime. It's about a reformed motorcycle hoodlum who goes to prison, finds God, gets out, tries to turn his life around. These books are brutal. They are swiftly paced. And I would also like to point to Chuck Dixon's Levon Cade series, which are similar. 2 great adventure series, which if you read novels, check them out.
Absolutely. That's an interesting mix, too, because you've got hard-boiled men's adventure and Christianity all in one. You can't get
Right.
more conservative than Guns and God in the same book.
Yeah, well, when I say hard-boiled men, I don't mean that they're misogynistic, and I have a number of women readers who love the books because there are women in there too. I mean, Josh has a girlfriend, and the characterizations are pretty rich. It's not simple-minded action. It is action. There's a lot of action in all the books, but I'm proud of the plots. The plots are very surprising, and you say, well, I never thought about this. And when you get into the book, it all makes sense. To me, the perfect ending for any work of fiction should come as both a complete surprise and, in retrospect, inevitable.
Yeah, there was no other way that it could have ended but this.
Right. And the perfect example of that is the ending to the original Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
So we knew it was Earth all along.
Have you ever read Pierre Boulle's book,
No,
the
I
novella
haven't.
Planet of the Apes?
No.
You should, just because you might be surprised. There has never been a Planet of the Apes adaptation that matched the book, because the book had a very much more surprising ending than the first movie did. I'm not going to spoil it because I think you would like to check it out, and it's a real thin book. It's a real short read.
I don't mind people giving away the endings. People say, "Oh, no spoilers, no spoilers." If you tell me what happens in the book or the movie or the comic, I will unfriend you now. But the funny thing is, we read a book, we love the book, and then they make a movie of the book, and you can't wait to see the movie. But you already read the book. You know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, this in the book, the astronaut and a female from that planet get back in his rocket and they take off. But he lands on Earth, he thinks, and he's at the Space Center, and all the apes come out of the Space Center, so he takes off again. And he just leaves the whole book as a message in a bottle, and it's been discovered by someone who's reading it. And it's another spaceship with another ape. He's like, what fantasy is this? Obviously humans can't do anything. It was apes all around and never any explanation. It was almost like a Gulliver's Travels kind of movie, a swift commentary on humanity.
I get that. I mean, you can see the potential for that.
But that's his book, and we're on your book, which folks can get if they go. You give me a global link here. I'm going to put it in the chat at theprivateamerican.com. I'm guessing right now that kicks you over to the Kickstarter.
Yeah. The Indiegogo, as we prefer.
All right.
It's just that much more refined than Kickstarter.
Yeah, I say both of them interchangeably anymore.
I know. And there are more crowdfunding platforms springing up every day.
All right. Well,
and there
here
should
to help us talk about Private American is a Private American, JDA HD.
What's going on, my friend?
Sir? We are
pushing
Mike Barron.
It's like deja vu all over again, eh, John?
Hey, Mike, it's been like 5 minutes.
How
you
know.
Awesome
He's been
stuff.
a busy guy.
This is a fantastic book, everybody. I'm very excited to have this all. Hey, Pops in the chat. How you doing? Good to see you.
Hi,
Evelyn
Pops.
Mossy, good to see you. Hi, Roberts, good to see you. I just got to meet Richard Bonk, which is exciting because I've been reading his comics for a long time. Now, I didn't bring this up on my stream because I think my audience would have gotten so check this out. I'm sharing my screen right now. This is Richard Bonk, the artist. And I'm not throwing shade. Richard Bonk is an awesome artist who I've read a lot of his work. But this is kind of weird. So he is a master's of education counseling, and he's into this like medical meditation healing stuff.
I didn't
This
know
is him,
that.
same guy. So check this out, astrotherapy. I don't know what this is, but I wanted to ask him about it on my stream, but I didn't want to mess up the sales things because I got a pretty I'd say what is it, a fundamentalist Christian audience overall. So I'm not sure that they'd take too well to this, but he doesn't talk about this on anything.
No, I've never heard him mention it. This comes as a complete surprise to me.
Well, you see, and there's an example of people able to work in an industry and not bring up some belief that they have.
Isn't that kind of
pushing on people?
Yeah,
It's shocking.
Yeah. So interesting
It's
stuff.
amazing
But I
people
just
can do that.
if you Google his name, this is like the top thing you find, which is kind of interesting. So,
Are you sure it's the same guy?
yeah, because it's his work as an artist. It says so right here. So it's got to be right. Well, maybe it's not. Maybe there's a different artist, Richard Bonk.
It could be. Check it.
Oh my gosh, that's not him.
That's definitely not him.
Okay, a 2D representation of the cloud. Oh wow, I gotta send this to him because it's pretty funny.
My cursor and plug it back.
This is really funny. I really thought this. I was like, wow, he didn't seem like this big of a hippie guy, but I guess he's not. Is the answer?
It's one thing to have two guys with the same name, and it's another to have two guys with the same name in the same field.
What are the odds?
Isn't that crazy? Yeah,
It's very crazy. But I've got the shared stream up here. The Private American on Indiegogo. I'll say it straight. 13,202 days. Mike, I know that the police force, police officers everywhere got very much behind Thin Blue Line.
They certainly did.
Has there been an outreach or feedback yet from Border Patrol agents?
Well, no, we just announced this book yesterday, and somebody would have to bring it to their attention. We were lucky in that the National Police Association interviewed me and Fox News had me on. And then police officers started to reach out to me from all over the country. And I've made some new friends that way. And it's surprising how many of them want to write police novels.
Inspire more writers. That's
Yep.
When I got my master's, one of the things I did in marketing, the thesis I did for the marketing class was make the statement that the real sign of a leader is that they produce more leaders. And my theme was on Harlan Sanders and how one of his teenage fry cooks that was working directly for him at the very first restaurant was Dave Thomas, who went on to form Wendy's. And I said, this is how you can tell a leader they produce other leaders. So you're a leader in the writing field, Mike, by producing other writers out there.
Well, and I'm also always happy to help writers. And as long as we're on the subject, if you want to be a writer, you have to carry a tablet and a pen with you at all times.
This doesn't count.
What is that? No,
Yeah.
you can use that, and I know a number of people who do. But the very act of writing it by hand fixes it in your memory and pushes it to the front of the lobes or whatever. And also, you never have to worry about running out of juice and bringing it up and where did I stick that, and
Yeah.
I've been carrying a pad and pen with me for over a half a century, and I would advise everybody to do that, and that includes artists as well, because you can always write by pen. And I've written a lot of my books longhand at conventions because you're sitting at a table and they're long, boring patches like Lawrence of Arabia trying to cross the empty quarter, and you can fill those hours by writing.
Yeah. John, I don't know if you do the same thing, but I've definitely written some of my stuff longhand because it slows you down for one thing, and it really makes you think about what's happening at this point here. There's no deleting a block of text and retyping it and deleting it again.
No, you can cross it
I'm pretty deliberate when I do things, and I probably should have some way of saying I don't save things or anything like that. So I would say 8 out of 10 ideas I have, I forget about them by the next day.
Yeah.
But I'm bad about that. But the thing is I don't want ideas half the time because I'm I got to focus on my things so that I can make more money. Yeah.
I mean, if you remember 2 out of the 10 the next day, at least you've still got something to work with.
Exactly. So. Yeah. But I'm trying to do less projects and keep the same universes going because I think that diluting things is kind of tough. It's much easier to keep everybody on board a single property than it is to kind of spread around. As much as it's artistically fun to spread around, it's as you see, it's harder. It's like a Thin Blue Line made $95,000, but that group didn't necessarily come in for Private American, even though it's the same genre, same creator, it's going to be awesome. And Thin Blue Line's good stuff. It just transferring from one title to another just stops customers' brains sometimes.
Well,
it's kind of interesting.
I understand because my titles are neither fish nor fowl, as they say. We know the genres that do well: superheroes, good girl art, science fiction, and horror. And neither Thin Blue Line nor Private America fall neatly into those categories. Although if you like The Punisher, you're going to love Private American. It's extremely Punisher-like. We just didn't bill it as a straight vigilante book because of the issues involved, and we wanted to make it real. And it's one thing that I pride myself is when you enter into one of my stories, you will believe everything is possible. And that's where I'm at today. When I read comics, books, or look at a movie, I have to believe it could actually happen before I can really enjoy it. And that doesn't mean I don't like science fiction or horror, because when I watch Aliens or Alien, I believed in both those movies completely. Yes, they nailed it. Then I look at something like, the latest Jason Statham movie, or Nobody, starring Bob Odenkirk. And it starts out well, but at the end of the movie, he's mowing down thousands of faceless, nameless assassins. There are no police anywhere around, and they just give into the worst comic book impulses to go all-out action without a nod to credulity. You think this couldn't happen in real world. He wouldn't be able to shoot 25 guys and nobody would notice, and no cops would show up.
It was fun to watch, though. Robert Roberts in the comments just says that he just backed this as a Canadian, so he has brought us our shake and bake moment for the show.
Shake and bake, and I help.
Thank you, Robert.
Always appreciate it when somebody in the chat helps out. Let's talk about exactly what it is that Private American is doing here, because we know there's conflict on the border. We know that in the story he's going to be, serving as some sort of barrier to that, but who is it that he's attacking? I mean, you're going to have people who are saying, he's attacking the parents and the little girl who are trying to find a better life coming across the border, and he's kicking them back out.
On the second page, he's attacking a snakehead who wants to rape an underage girl that he's brought across the river, and this happens routinely. There are hardly any girls or women who cross the river that aren't raped. So he grabs the guy by the hair, pulls him back, and slits his throat. And that's our first appearance of Marco Zamora. And then we get into why he's doing it. He's a veteran who was dishonorably discharged because he shot an Arab who was torturing a dog. Now you ask, well, who would torture a dog? My friends, there are videos on the internet that Arabs post. And I don't want to tar all the Arabs. These are fundamentalists from Iran, of them torturing dogs that are absolutely the most horrifying and sickening thing I have ever seen in my life. But
yeah,
it's a dog. I mean, I have 3 dogs here. But that's why he was given a dishonorable discharge. And he lives in Texas. So he's familiar with what's going on. They're tracing right through his territory and his parents' territory and his friends' parents' territory. And finally says, well, the government isn't doing anything about this. In fact, they're encouraging it. But I have the means to make a small difference, just a small difference. So he starts going down to the border every night, intercepting the fentanyl smugglers and the human traffickers. And he films every encounter because Marcos understands that there's only one thing the rich and powerful fear, and that's bad publicity. And if you don't believe it, just look at the lengths that the current administration goes to crush any dissent.
It's true.
Yeah, and they'll just it's not so much that they even crush it anymore, Mike. It's that they say that didn't happen with stuff right in front of your eyes. It's like, yeah, that didn't happen. But
the party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. That's from 1984, and it's true today. I mean, what's happening in this country today comes as no shock to anybody who understands history. Cicero predicted it. Plato predicted it. Orwell predicted it. And yet here we are. The founding fathers knew. They understood that human nature didn't change. And that's why they wrote the Constitution and the Bill of Rights as they did, to prevent, as long as possible, these tapeworms from taking over our country.
And so far, so good. But I used to sit there and think, okay, when Clinton got elected, I'm like, okay, don't like the guy, but it's 4 years. We can always survive 4 years of anybody. I don't believe that anymore.
The current occupant, he was a reasonable man.
Yeah, exactly. They get more and more unreasonable as time goes on. More people in the chat. Biff Bam Boom Comics has popped in here. We had them on last night with Cody Valiant. Genuine Comics is talking about the logo. Loves that logo. I like it too.
Looks good.
Especially the one that's on the picture right now. It's very Foot Locker. Not the shoe store, but the Army.
Yeah, I like that.
And you're right, Evil Animosity. It is
no,
probably
it's
not a
for kids. However, I just finished a young adult novel that I'm very excited about. That's why I drove to Wisconsin to meet my patron. Guy hired me to write a novel called Sea Wolves about his organization, which teaches boys how to be men by teaching them how to sail. Now, there's a lot more to it than that, but we were both delighted with the novel. He wanted to fly me in to take me sailing, but I didn't want to fly, so I drove, and I finally hooked up with him in Bayfield, Wisconsin. We went sailing on Lake Superior. It was just wonderful.
Need to get you down here on your bikes in Northwest Arkansas sometime.
I would love to get down there on a bike. The only problem is riding it across the Midwest.
Yes, the mountains and the curves around here. Every time I go past the sidebar, I'm like, yeah, I can't wait for Mike to come down here sometime. Just have
Are you a biker, right, RJ?
I am not a biker. I've got a lot of biker friends. There's
well, good. Maybe one of them could be persuaded to loan me a bike.
There you go. There's a store here where every time I get a Comicsgate patch, I take my denim jacket in there and they're putting the patches on. And I'm sitting there talking with the other bikers, and they think it's cool that I'm working with comic book people. And especially people like Mike who are like, they're like, I heard Superman's gay now. I'm like, oh, sit down. Let me tell you this. They're a very conservative bunch.
Yeah, well, I got my first motorcycle in 1966. I was 1 year old.
You were 1 year old. Okay.
No, but I did get it in 66.
Well,
do you remember what it was?
Yeah, it was a Honda Super 90.
I'm too scared to ride a motorcycle.
Well, I've tried some. The older I get, the slower I get. Low and slow is the way to go.
I guess I'll kill the mood. I had a girlfriend when I was like 20. She was on the back of a motorcycle, and she got clipped by a van when they didn't see her coming around a corner. And died, and it was just like that scared me off of bikes. So yeah,
my grandfather's second wife, she had a motorcycle and was killed pretty much the same way.
Oh God!
I had a friend try to teach me how to ride it, and we had he had more of a motorbike than a motorcycle, long front yard, and he gave me all the instructions about downshifting, and I'd get all the way to the curb when I'd be ready to downshift, and I would just bog it down, and it would die, and I'd push around the curb.
I started riding when I was too young to know better.
You guys ever watch the NHRA bike drag races?
No, I would.
Those guys go 300 miles an hour on bikes.
Geez. Crazy shit.
Yeah.
And there's a movie called World's Fastest Indian, which I recommend. It stars Anthony Hopkins, and it's just delightful. It's about motorcycle racing on the Great Salt Lake.
Now, are they talking about Indian motorcycles or Indians out in Utah?
It was an Indian motorcycle that he modified, and Indian is back today, and I think that their Scout is the best American motorcycle ever made.
Yeah, there's an Indian dealer down the road from me here. So how did you get hooked up with Richard? I mean, there's...
That's funny, because we just went over this on John's channel, but Richard says we were both in a car going to con in Wisconsin years ago. I don't know how, but Richard and I started talking, and I offered him this Nexus graphic novel, which he knocked out of the park. It goes on sale in February from Dark Horse. And then I conceived Private American, and I asked Richard if he was interested, and he was. And as Richard just said, he has 5 pages left to do. He'll be done next week. The whole book will be done next week.
How many pages are we looking at?
It's about 64 pages of story.
Okay, so are you gonna do the same thing you did with?
We haven't thought of it, but a lot of people are suggesting Thin Blue Line shot through the roof. It depends on how much we raise. Of course, we're just getting started, but we were lucky to catch lightning in a bottle with Thin Blue Line. We're trying to do that again.
Yeah.
Somebody in the chat
I know-
mentioned the digital being expensive, and I actually want to kibosh that because it's actually not expensive. So $10 is the digital price on this, guys. And if you look at having a 64, 66 page graphic novel like this, that's about 3 issues of comics. So if you were to go on Comixology, Amazon, or whatever and buy a Marvel comic or a DC comic, those are $3.99 digitally, which means if it was 3 issues, it would be $12 digitally. So Mike's actually
I
giving
also
you...
have to point out that this
Yeah.
is infinitely more entertaining than anything Marvel
For sure.
or DC put out. And Tokamai, Indian is not a
It's
subsidiary.
14, it says 10 for me.
India is owned by Polaris Industries. It's completely separate from Harley. In fact, they're killing Harley.
Am I wrong on the 14 versus 10 is not a big difference, but like
Robert's looking
yeah,
at it from Canada.
Well, you have fake money in Canada. So.
Yeah, you just tell the banker you want some more pink fives. But I thought maybe they were looking at the where it says digital here in these autograph bundles, where you're actually getting physical copies plus the digital.
Yeah.
Well, Robert, we
But yeah,
appreciate your
$10
support
standard.
anyway. Even if
Yes,
it's-
we do.
Oh, it is 10. Okay, so 14 Canadian. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I don't know what Canadian dollars are worth.
About
honest.
1.4 to 1, apparently.
That's right.
Since we had easy math with that $10 tier.
That's true.
I haven't looked at all the different configurations you've got here, and I should, since I'm going to be, the data guy putting all this together for you. But I know Chris was pulling his hair out a lot last time with things like the certificates and the what do you call those coins? Challenge coins.
Yeah, well, we're not doing challenge coins. That was a one-off. Well, I don't know. I can't say it because I just finished the first draft of the next Thin Blue Line novel. And
There's
you
going to
never
be
know.
more.
But, oh yeah, I think one challenge coin is enough for us, but that's up to Chris.
I love challenge coins.
I do too. They're
Yeah.
heavy. I mean, I've got a handful of them over here from different books and projects, but I don't carry them with me because I'd be pulling my pants up all the time. There'd be so much weight in my pocket.
They bog you down.
Yeah, they really do. I could see one for this project because it's a whole new market than Thin Blue Line was. It's a related market, but it's a different slice. But yeah, I wouldn't do one for every Thin Blue Line afterwards. I remember she said, at the end of the book that, well, I can't police here anymore. I didn't think that, you were going to carry her into another book and have a separate adventure somewhere. Is that the case?
It's completely different. And I'm really excited about this new story. You're going to be surprised. However, the title will give a little bit of away. It's called The Revolving Door.
Ah, okay. So you're not going to tell us what social issue, if any, might be the crux of this story?
Well, I think The Revolving Door says it all. If you follow the news in New York City or San Francisco or Los Angeles, in San Francisco, they successfully recalled their district attorney because he was a far-left lunatic who eliminated
that's my
Cash
hood.
Bear.
I hope you voted.
John, I
No,
don't know
I
you
don't
live near
vote.
San Francisco.
Really?
Yeah, I thought you were down near San Diego.
No, that's Mike Miller.
Oh,
I'm,
I know Mike's down there.
Yeah, I'm in beautiful San Francisco area.
Huh.
Beautiful.
I went to San Francisco once for a business trip for some training, really up in Walnut Creek, but
That's where I
flew into
live,
that.
Walnut Creek.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we stayed there, and my wife at the time, she's like, "Well, what do we pack?" I'm like, well, "It's California, Baywatch. It's November, mind you, so we pack shorts and t-shirts."
And it's like
we had
60.
to buy clothes when we were there. Yeah,
Yeah.
we had
Mark
to buy some
Twain
clothes. And we
said-
came back with illness.
Everybody
Mark
thinks
Twain
it's warm
said
here. It's
summer
not.
in San Francisco was the coldest winter I ever experienced.
It is. And if you ever get up on the North Coast, up like Eureka, where all the redwoods are and all that, it is foggy and 60 degrees no matter what time of year it is. It's crazy. Yeah.
Robert, I don't think they were allowing you to poop on the
No.
sidewalk.
San Francisco used to be a beautiful city.
I saw poop on the sidewalk in Nashville. So when I was there 2 weeks ago. So
Yeah,
I don't
they
think
must-
this is just a San Francisco epidemic. It's happening in the South too. So
Yeah, it's a homeless epidemic.
It's all over
but,
Denver. And now Denver's decided, well, we can take care of that. We'll just give every homeless person $1,000.
Oh,
That
well,
should
yeah.
take care of
Okay.
that problem.
A week?
No.
Or
No. I don't know if it's a one-time payment or monthly, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's monthly. Let me see.
who's paying for
hey,
it? Property taxes?
Yeah, if anything, Florida has taught us that we can actually gather up large groups of people and move them somewhere else. So I just
$12,000 in cash. It's $1,000 a month.
well, that
Wow.
might get them kind of started.
Started
If they're
doing
smart,
what?
It's not a bad deal.
yeah, but they're just going to drink it. at least
gonna
half
wipe their
of them are
ass
just going
with
to
it.
drink it. And I don't know. I saw. Did you see the video from yesterday where a rowdy bunch went in and ransacked a Wawa store?
Saw it.
I was like, rowdy bunch. What were these like little rapscallions, you little scamps, in here tearing up the store? Get out of here, you little. And they're like, no, those were animals, man. That was a riot in the store for no reason.
Well, there was a reason. Free stuff.
Yeah, they made that reason up. That's. I guess that might be showing up in one of your thin blue lines at some point here.
Well, that hasn't appeared yet, but I mean, there's enough there that is topical. You can only tackle so much. You have to stick to a dramatic line.
Yeah.
That follows all the way through. And there are a couple of dramatic lines in the new thin blue line, which also involves a serial killer who's unique, and people are going to love it. They're not necessarily going to love the serial killer, but they're going to love the angle.
Well, we do tend to love serial killers, even though they're monsters. Let's be straight up about that. But hey, Pops, we do tend to love serial killers, even though Pops, you got your YouTube on. Let's be straight up about that.
Pops.
Hey, Pops.
Hey, guys, let me turn off like all this other stuff. All right.
Yeah, you got that going. But there was
At least I was watching, right?
That's right. There was a serial killer comic 25 years ago that I really liked, and I don't know where it went beyond the first issue, called Twister. And it was a serial killer, and the thread that connected him to all his victims was they were all serial killers.
Well, that's the theme of
Dexter to me.
What's that TV series? Dexter. Dexter.
Yeah.
He only kills serial killers. There's also a series of novels by Rex Miller called Slob, which was about a serial killer who weighed about 400 pounds, and they were just great books. And there was a Slob comic too, and if anybody can find it, it's worth checking out.
We'll do that. I will do that because I love reading that kind of stuff, just to see how they get caught, really.
I was like, Dan Wells did a great serial killer series, and I forgot what it was called because I read it a long time ago, and it was really quick read, and I loved it. And I was like, what was the title of it? And it's literally titled "I Am Not a Serial Killer."
Oh, I have that book in the basement. I haven't finished it yet.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was fun.
Making a comic connection to serial killers here. Has anybody seen the Netflix series that's up right now, Dahmer?
Not yet, but I do intend to watch it.
Talking about the Hart Fisher connection.
Yeah, they show a copy of the Jeffrey Dahmer comic book, and it says Boneyard Press and everything on it. But here's the thing. They didn't ask Hart about it. They didn't get his input, and they changed the cover so that the head on the cover was more in line with looking like the actor in the series rather than the actual Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yep.
I know. I'm sure Hart knows about that.
Yeah,
he knows very much about it. He's very, very upset about it, to put it mildly, because they changed his art.
Out of it.
Yeah, should get something out of it, but yeah, there are about 100 hours of serial killer cop videos on YouTube. I don't go down that rabbit hole. It's a time.
I'm not going to watch the Dahmer thing. I can't handle gruesome things, and they always end up being a little gross.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't like slasher stuff myself. I like a good mystery. I love Silence of the Lambs. and I love Anthony Hopkins. I think that's the role of a lifetime. And Hannibal is excellent too. But that's such an intelligent story. It's so well thought out. And Hannibal Lecter is such a unique figure. My hat's off to the artist, Thomas, or the writer, Thomas Harris. And we've been waiting for another book for years. He did cough one up and it was okay. But nothing can touch Silence of the Lambs or Hannibal.
Yeah, they're pretty much top there.
As both books and movies.
Manhunter was a great book. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's a good movie too. That's a good movie. Yeah. It's also known as Red Dragon. There are two versions of it.
That's right. That's right. They did change the title of it. Well, they changed. Was it Red Dragon as the book, and then Manhunter was the movie?
Manhunter was the first movie. I think it was Michael Mann, and it's brilliant. Brian Cox is Hannibal Lecter, and he does an outstanding job.
Yeah. Now you talked about in getting back to Private American here, how the rich and powerful, he's always
one
videoing.
Thing: bad publicity.
Yeah. So what is it about what he's doing that hurts the rich and powerful? Do they want these people to get across unstopped?
Absolutely. For a whole bunch of different reasons. Some are getting kickbacks from the cartels. Some think that these people will automatically vote Democratic so that they can get free stuff for the rest of their lives. And some think that America deserves to die. This is a conscious attempt to destroy our sovereignty and get rid of the whole idea of America, which honors exceptionalism, because they think that's evil.
So it sounds like there's multiple rich and powerful with separate agendas, but all of them require this.
And most of them gather under the banner of the left.
And all of them are getting booed off stage lately.
Yeah, it's funny how that works. I know everybody's kind of hoping we all go the way of Italy.
Oh, man, did you see her speech?
Yes, I did. I read her speech. I heard it, but I didn't understand it.
Right, man, what a speech.
Yeah, anybody who quotes Chesterton is A-OK in my book.
You got to love her. Now, let's hope it's going to sweep the continent.
And that you had the same screaming at the clouds reaction that you had in 2016 that people now say never happened.
Right.
Again, completely denial of history and videos.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at the tiers, I just want to hit these real quick here so that we can say that we've covered them so people know what they're getting. You've got two different covers here. They're $25 each. You've got a Steve Rude cover. I love Richard Bonk, but you and Rude have a history that goes way back.
Oh, yeah. We talk all the time.
I asked Richard Bonk which one I should get, and he told me the Steve Rude cover, so he's not promoting very well.
Richard's cover is brilliant, too.
It looks great.
And we may get another cover. We may get another one from a surprise artist. Oh, and we also have a Matt Barr cover that's going to blow you away.
My good friend touchy. Matt Barr.
Yeah, Matt Barr 6 or Matt 6 Barr. I don't know how
because Chris hates exploding heads. And we have an exploding head on the cover of Bronze Star, and now we have an exploding head cover by Matt Barr.
Oh, but awesome! You might have to be careful about putting that on Indiegogo. I know some people have been getting popped lately.
I will mention that to Chris. Chris is hip to that, but it's a very tasteful exploding head.
Tasteful exploding head.
Yeah.
Yeah, Indiegogo's getting finicky.
Yeah.
And what I hate is that
happen.
Yeah. And John, you probably noticed this too, is that they do it after the campaign and after the money's in, but before they send it to you.
Yeah, it's like they're going to hold the money. Well, this happened before.
Like our approval process is after we've taken your money. That's kind of
happened
bullshit,
to Chuck
guys.
Dixon a couple years ago, and it just didn't make any news in our circuits. But they actually held it for like 3 weeks and then refunded that entire campaign after collecting interest on it. And that's where these companies really make their money, is they collect interest on all this stuff while they hold the funds.
Yeah. And that's why I don't understand why Kickstarter doesn't take the money right away rather than wait till the end. I mean,
they hold it for a couple of weeks. They do okay with it.
Yeah,
but holding it for a month is a lot better.
Interest is interest, bro. We don't,
But it's yeah, I mean, nothing's safe anymore at this point. But
Everything's a
you know,
cash grab.
it's all right. Yeah.
It's a different book, Pops.
Yeah, but everything's a cash grab.
Richard Bonk's
I
art is
know.
so great. So it
You
just
gotta hope
harkens
that
back.
while you're sifting through the stuff that you find the good stuff, like the Mike Barron stories. Don't pass them up. This guy's been writing for a long time. He knows what he's doing.
I pull Nexus and Badger from the long boxes every time I go to a comic shop.
Yeah, every time.
I don't even know if I've got doubles yet. I'm just like, no, it's. I look at the top, says, yep, it's Barron. I take it.
It's funny. One time I was interviewing Mike, and a Badger comic came through the door.
Bam!
While I was talking to him, my grandson's, the grandmother from the other side came over with like comics, and just there happened to be some Badger comics in there. I'm like, Mike, look at this! Just walked in the door, you know. I remember the first time I met Mike. It's like I went to started looking at all the different stuff in my collection that had his name on it that I had no idea had his name on it till I went looking to find out what all is this guy into. And it was like, oh my God. It went way beyond the stuff I knew. I knew Nexus and Punisher, but I mean, it went way beyond that. Oh, everything he had his little fingers into. And he's still that way too, aren't you, Mike?
Yeah.
Yep.
I have a monstrous Badger story inside, and I already started writing it down, but I need to finish it. I was going to do it as a series, but now I'm going to do it as a graphic novel, and we're going to crowdfund it.
Well,
and
looking at the rest of
if
these,
you want to know what it's about, it's Badger versus the Devil.
Oh, I'll buy that for $1. I'll buy it for 25 rather, probably. It'll be crowdfunded, right?
We'll see.
So the autograph bundle here, just to be clear, this is the autograph's going to be on a card.
That's right, because it's too much trouble to ship these huge books all over the country, and we're all spread out. Richard's in Florida. I'm in Colorado. Well, we did that with Thin Blue Line. We signed the hardbound books. We signed insert sheets that are sewn into the book. But in this case, we're just going to sign a card that'll be included with the book. It'll probably be a unique piece of art, too.
I've signed sheets like that for the Sideways Door when I did that with Telos. Of course, you know, we know how the signature sheets look, right, Mike?
Has that printed
cards
yet?
This is printed. This, as you can see, they've been peeled off of this one. I have sent out fulfillment just before the show started. I was at the post office. Everybody who backed the campaign, their book is in the mail, and they've got the tracking number. So we didn't. Once we got everything in place, we didn't wait around on it. You can get the autograph card with two different things. Retailer bundles, very important stuff here. How did the retailer bundles? How did the retail bundles go with Thin Blue Line? Did you get a lot of retailer interaction? Because
we did not as much as we should, because we don't have the amplifier that the big two have, but it's getting out there. And, you know, as you know, the comic world is split in two between the traditional comics and the breakaways. And the more of these crowdfunded comics we get out there that are good, the more the word spreads. And it's important that we make them available to standard retailers. And I understand that somebody's working on a central shop for all these crowdfunded comics, a one-stop shopping center online.
Yeah, there's a couple people trying to do that. It shouldn't be that hard. I mean, that's what Yahoo started out as, was just a link farm. People would put their links up and people would go there and click on them. That's all you need for a one-stop shop. Just put a link up to all the crowdfunders all the time. Of course, you can get the retailer tier with both covers, different covers, and then original art bundles. One of these has already been claimed, folks. Do you get to pick which page you're going to get, or is it going to be random?
Oh, I think you get to pick it. That's the wonderful thing about Richard. He works the old-fashioned way. He pencils and then he inks. You have finished art when it's done. There's nothing wrong with digital art. Some of my favorite artists work digitally, and I love to have the book in my hands once they print it, because it makes no difference to you, the reader, whether it was digital or hand-drawn art. But there is a huge market for hand-drawn art. And artists who do that will have something to sell at conventions or a prize to offer during crowdfunding.
Yeah, not a huge market for the printed out stuff that you did digitally. If you just say, "Yeah, I'll print this page up for you," it's not the same.
Unless it's an NFT.
Oh God, don't get me started on NFTs.
Oh, shit. Talk about.
I'm
getting
only going to sell my
sucked
books
into
as
one.
NFTs
Man,
from
I
now on.
missed that bullet by that much, man.
What, the
Oh,
NFT bullet?
Yeah, missed it by
Pops,
that
you were
much.
jumping in front of that bullet, man. I was
Dude,
like, "Oh man, I hope this doesn't
and
hurt."
it missed me by that much. I'm like, ooh. It
Oh,
wasn't
man,
that.
that was-
It wasn't even the market. It was the people, though. It was like, man, I can't deal with these people. I'm not fuck this. You know,
And you've
it was all just greedy people, man. And I'm just don't do well with greedy people. You know,
yeah, that's all it was. And it was a dumb concept in my opinion, but that's neither here nor there. Mike, you said the book was almost finished drawn up here, but there's still places that will have to be drawn into, I guess, because you got 3 be drawn
That's
into the
right.
book.
Yeah, we are selling rights to certain minor characters. They're going to go crazy on the next Thin Blue Line because there are so many opportunities.
So who are the characters that you can pick to be drawn in as? I mean, you get to be a coyote that gets shot.
Well, it depends. If somebody wanted to be a coyote, I suppose we would be happy to accommodate them. But there are law enforcement officials, there's the Texas Rangers, there are feds. There are relatives, Marcos' relatives, his best friend's parents.
So not recurring characters then, just characters that'll be there.
No, because I'm not even thinking about the next Private American, although I should be. It depends on the response to this one. The response to Thin Blue Line was so overwhelming that we felt obligated to do a follow-up, and I'm glad we did, because the story is going to blow your mind. It's completely different from the first one, but it follows similar themes, which is the difficulty that police have doing their job these days.
Yeah, and I can, I know that I don't know about the official Border Patrol, but I know that people like the Minutemen were always taking a lot of heat. I might even had that name wrong. There's some unofficial Border Patrols out there that are basically voluntary.
There have been for a long time.
Yeah, and it seems like they're always
a lot
being
of them
told
that
to stand
protect the
down.
Arizona border because there's ranchers down there that have no protection.
That's right. I've read it the other day. This week, I read a story about a guy who looked out his window and a half dozen undocumented visitors were trying to get in his house. They ran, dragging on the door. And when they couldn't, they ran next door and ran into his grandmother's house.
At which point, I hope he grabbed his gun and went over and saved Granny.
I didn't know what the end of that story was, but it was all over the news. I mean, you can Google it. Undocumented visit. What do you call them now? Immigrants. Undocumented immigrants invade house.
Criminals?
That's the word I was looking for. It's an invasion, Mike.
Right.
They're invaders.
Criminals.
That too. Well, criminals are generally, they're already here. Invaders come from outside. You can shoot either one.
I sympathize with a lot of these people. They've been sold a bill of goods. They've been told by the present administration, y'all come on in, we'll take care of all your needs from now on. And they want a better life. And I understand that. However, you're either for the rule of law or you're not.
Yeah.
And without the rule of law, there can be no civilization. There's a proper way to enter the country. But the book is not anti-immigrant at all. It's about the people who exploit the immigrants.
Yeah, and a lot of people like to counter all that by espousing, well, give us you're tired, you're poor. Totally discounting the fact that there's a lot more in that poem that they're grabbing that line from. That sort of puts.
We already have enough tired and poor. Go back.
Yes.
We're
tired. We're poor.
No organism, neither a single cell nor a nation, can survive without protecting its borders. And if you don't believe me, try putting a cigarette out on your arm.
No, I'll pass. I don't even smoke. So, Mike, what are the plans for Private American after this Indiegogo is over? Are you going to do the Kickstarter thing after this?
Yes.
Okay, so 30 to 60 days here, and then we'll see you on Kickstarter while it's on in demand.
Yeah. Chris masterminds all that. It's a 2-tiered approach, and it's worked in the past.
It has. I just usually see people go Kickstarter first and then to Indiegogo, not the other way around.
I am fortunate to have marketing genius like Chris Brawley running my campaigns.
He's a good guy. I like Chris.
He is a good guy. Should have linked him into here to have him add some stuff to it. Of course, then Mike
he's a
wouldn't
busy
have got
guy.
He knows all this stuff.
He does occasionally drop in, but he's got a full-time videographer business, and he's very much in demand, as he's probably the most popular videographer in Tennessee.
And that's why your trailers are some of the top-notch trailers for any comic book promotion out there.
Yep.
That's the secret.
He gets these top-notch voice actors. I mean, I swear
they're really good.
Whoever he's got doing Florida Man and Thin Blue Line in this is the same guy who does all the narration for Swamp People.
It's Sam Elliott.
What?
No, I'm kidding.
Oh,
but it does sound like him. The guy that did Florida Man is different from the two guys that did Private American and Thin Blue Line, who does sound like Sam Elliott.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give you that, but knowing Chris's connections and having just watched 1883, I'm like, did he really get Sam Elliott? Shit, that'd be great. Maybe we should try that. See if we can do it. Cameo exists.
Ball means.
Well, Mike, I know we got started late. I have kept you an hour, and I know you're going to be on even more streams tonight. So
more importantly, I have to take a nap.
Well, yeah, there is that.
Nap sounds great.
You're notorious for going to bed early, but having gotten messages from you at 6:30 in the morning, I'm like, he also gets up early.
I'm up early.
He took Ben Franklin at his word, and you can see that it works, gentlemen. Early to bed, early to rise, and be Mike Barron.
It's almost 4:20. Mike needs to take a little siesta.
Folks, please back Thin Blue Line. Private American. Back them both.
Go get Thin Blue Line too.
Yeah, and folks, if you're watching this on the replay, the link that you want is right below the video. You can could have been clicking it any time now. You wouldn't have left the stream. You still listened while you threw money at it.
It's theprivateamerican.com. If you lose track, it's simple. Theprivateamerican.com.
And
Absolutely.
You'll be sick of me talking about it over the next, 30 days.
That's pops. Your words are music to my ears.
I'll keep the video that I downloaded and throw it into the rotation of all our video openings. So we will keep it in front of people's minds. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much for being here this afternoon. We do appreciate you. We don't have a show without you. And as always, while you were here, just hope you had a blast. Good night.
Jedi Bill, your days are numbered. You think you can get away with it?